Hello, today I'll be teaching you the basics of how to play a heavyweight build in Project Ascension. First of all, here are the enchants that I'm currently running. Weapon Command is good for any single two-handed build, and Haste is very important. Again, Counterpoise, with the Haste, this time with some crit. Unbridled Wrath for your Rage. Critical Strike from Insight. Insatiable, this is the one that can be swapped out depending on your build, which I'll go into later. But for my personal build, Overpower is a lot of my damage, and it really helps with movement as well if I need to come back in for a huge hit. The key of the build is Heavyweight. Now, this build, this confuses a lot of people, but the basics of it is you never want to see a white hit. If I build up a stack, you will see that I end up with a stack here of Heavyweight. And every time that I use an ability, it'll get me another stack. But if at any point I were to auto attack, it would disappear. So you see if I auto attack here, it's gone. But if I were to heroic strike, when it finally does it, I get a stack. And each time that I heroic strike, the stacks increase, the damage increases, but my attack speed goes down. Upon reaching 5 stacks, you will enrage like so, and your next hit will do a massive crush attack, which will do a ton of damage, and is where the meat and potatoes of the build comes in. Now, there are ways to game this so that you can get more much quicker. A big key one is Rend, using the talent here, Taste for Blood. The capstone actually makes it into a basic warrior attack. So for my build, only 8 rage, you can run in and just be constantly spamming Rend and heroic strike, and as you'll see, you'll get stacks very, very quickly. Now, on top of this, you can factor in overpowers into the rotation very simply, and this becomes a very simple 3-button rotation. It's absolutely nothing to it. You're literally just pressing 3 buttons. You can filter in a whirlwind if you want to be fancy in an AoE situation. That'll do some decent damage, but it's honestly not necessary. Other ways to play this build are either with mace specialization, which I think is probably the best, which is attack speed and armor penetration. We combine that with the mace specialization in Rogue to get the same effect, basically. So other options that I've seen are sword specialization. If you especially get Blade Storm, this can proc from that, which is very powerful. And if you want to do big dick crits, then go for the Poleaxe specialization. All of this can be achieved at level 1. You just need to start with Heroic Strike, Battle Stance, Rend, and Blood Rage. Or you can swap out Battle Stance for Charge, if that is what you desire. Any of that works fine. And to get more min-max into it, if you manage to roll Execute, there is a very good quick death variant of the build, which will give you attack speed on top of that. That's probably much higher DPS than what I'm currently running. But this one is fun for me because I just like spamming 2 buttons in a heroic and turn my brain off. But if you want to go into it, you can manage that. Another way to start at level 1 would be to take Sinister Strike, Heroic Strike, Rend, and Slice and Dice. And then you'll have to try your best to roll Blood Rage, Battle Stance, and other things, and try and re-roll Sinister Strike. Because Slice and Dice is very, very strong attack speed buff. I currently don't have it, but I'm fishing for it, which is why I'm keeping Sinister Strike. Very, very powerful to get. Free bonus damage. Blood Rage. The reason that this is important, and you'll also want to try and roll either Berserker Rage or Recklessness if you can, or Death Wish. Any of these are good. Any cooldown is good, obviously. But this just allows you to proc and Rage on demand, which is 10% physical damage and 10% melee haste, which is just free. It's free damage, and it's very powerful. You can combine it with cooldowns, so one of my favorites is just do this, and then you can start popping off immediately by getting your attack power up, which allow you to do much bigger crushes, because crush is entirely based on your weapon damage, which means you want to get strength as much as possible. Crit is an afterthought, because your crush will always crit and do triple damage, so you've got to make sure that you get your attack power and weapon damage up as high as possible. This includes things like Crusader on your weapon, trying to get procs lined up. Rock Biter is what you'll want to get. I've heard arguments for Wind Fury, but personally I don't have it. But Rock Biter works really well for me. Things like True Shot Aura are all very good. Rampage is just a little bonus. Yeah, you want to try and get as much attack speed as you can as possible to keep on swinging in and allowing you to build up stacks by heroic striking more often and just generally getting your stacks as high as possible. Everything else in this version of the build is secondary. However, there is another variant involving slam. The slam side of things lets you, instead of dumping all of your damage into getting crush as possible, you're actually doing decent DPS in between your crushes, because slam can do a lot of damage. And you can combine that again with more of the attack speed things. Again, it's quite flexible because you can swap out quick death or counterpoise for battering ram, which will apply sunder armor and just give you a lot extra damage on top of everything. All of that works really, really well. I'm currently rocking Berserker Stance, which I just happened to get while leveling. I wouldn't say it's better than Battle Stance, if I'm honest. I would say Battle Stance would be the preference. The other things that you want to look out for is try and not pick up legendary abilities, so you can grab yourself a Blade Storm for extra AoE. Try and avoid epic abilities, because Sweeping Strikes, Death Wish and Recklessness are all fantastic abilities to get your hands on, but all of them require you to not have any epics as much as possible, because it'll be much harder to roll. Another variant to factor in is Mortal Strike. I haven't played with this one properly, nor have I seen it pulled off perfectly, but I've heard that Slam and Mortal Strike together make a really good filler, because then you don't have to spam a crappy attack like Rend, but then you'll have to go a lot more into rage generating things, which I'll go into now. So where'd you get your rage from? Well, my Heroic Strike costs 1 rage, so for me that's just spammable. I've got 3 points in Improved Heroic Strike, I've got 2 points in Focused Rage, I've got 2 points in Unbridled Wrath, I've got 3 points in Anger Management. I've also got Charge, I've also got Blood Rage, and I've also got this Gilrex Charm of Might, which gives Rage on use. And just generally, I am absolutely fine. I don't have to worry about Rage. In fact, I've probably overdone it. There's a Cleave variant of the build again, but Heroic Strike is much easier to get the Rage cost down. But if you find yourself over-raged, then you can try a Cleave variant. I haven't played with it myself, but I've heard that that can work too. As for the random enchants, pretty much Unbridled Wrath is all I'm running, 2 points in that, and I'm fine on Rage, as I said before. But you can run 3 of that, and you can also run Anger Management, which is extremely potent here, which will give you way more Rage than you could ever use if you're going for the Heroic Strike version. Otherwise, you'll have to make sure that you never auto-attack, so if you're using Cleave, and you end up Rage starving yourself, so if I spam down, you'll see without doing anything, my Rage bar will start going down. And if I spam it enough, I will end up out of Rage. And if I end up out of Rage and then I auto-attack, bam, I've just ruined my entire stack. So the key is just make sure that if you were to run out of Rage from over-spamming or not speccing correctly into that, and you end up running out, you're going to have to run out and maybe disengage and then charge back in to get some Rage or something along those lines. Find some way to build Rage. That's the important part. Other things to factor in that are just nice little bonuses, if you can fit them in, is Flurry. You're going to crit every time. That's always going to be up. 100% uptime guaranteed. If you're running Overpower, the improved Overpower helps keep this up as well. 1 point in Deep Wounds lets me get Blood Frenzy. Not necessary because I have Rend, but still nice to have nonetheless if I'm AoEing. Especially Unrelenting Assault is just more Overpower damage combined with Taste for Blood. Impale is just extra damage again. 200 weapon specialization and 200 weapon mastery is just flat damage and flat more rage. And reduced threat is always nice as well, which I've also taken improved Berserker Stance to help with. Threat can be a bit of an issue if you run in and just insta-burst something, and the extra strength is nice too. As for your hit rating, I've got some points in Divine Strength, which should give you more hit than you could use ideally and later on, because you get a lot of hit from your gear anyway. Combined with the Precision Random Enchant, really, really helps as well. If anyone has any questions about this, feel free to message me in-game. My name is Bumlol. And yeah, just hit me up if you want to know.